crap has really hit the fan and it's an apocalypse. What knife are you gonna grab? Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife Kara's at work. And today we're going to go over a bunch of knives that would work great in an apocalypse. What knife would you grab in an apocalypse? Because this knife would not be a knife I would want to grab for an apocalypse. Let's get into them. The Mike Emler Stonefish. This knife is done by We, and it's an all-around great tactical knife, a knife that is basically good for just about any situation. You could use it for, to camp out. You can use it for tactical reasons. You can use it for, precision cutting if you need to. You can use it for just about anything, even self-defense. This is an incredibly well-done knife, the We Stonefish, designed by Mike Emler. This is his personal one, so they come in 3 different colors, but let's get to the next knife. The Spyderco Manix XL. This is the Manix 2 XL. Now, if you've seen, I'm going from fixed blades to also some folders. This knife is a beast of a knife. It's very big, and I think even its, little brother would be just fine as well, but obviously these would do even better with the scales and the metal cage to even make it stronger. Tinder XM24. That one's the big daddy, but you could also go with the 3.5 inch, the XM18. So the XM24 and the XM18 I think would be fantastic knives for an apocalypse. They're extremely strong, extremely well built, and definitely would do great under hard use and situations where you need a hard use, badass knife that can handle just about anything. The Mora Knife. Now, I know there's lots of different Mora knives. I think a lot of different ones would work just fine. This one happens to be a full tang version and is nice and thick. This one has an incredibly sharp edge, but just a great knife. These things have been tested time and time again and do amazing in hard use situations, and they also work as a great cutter, a great camp knife, a great all-around utility knife for in the field. The Cold Steel Ultimate Hunter. Now this one's been slightly modified with a finger choil by BJ Hill, and it also has his edge on it, which is extremely well done. This is a great example of a good edge, but these knives are just beasts of a knife. With Cold Steel's triad lock, it's super strong. You can use it one-handed. It has thumb stud deployment, which works great, but the ergos are fantastic, and it just makes for a great hard use knife. CTS XHP steel. This would be a great knife for when crap hits the fan. Spyderco Shaman. These knives usually come in G10. They also have micarta versions. This one's in aftermarket scales. They're red micarta aftermarket scales. But the ergos on this knife, the blade, the grind, this is just an incredibly well-built knife with a compression lock that is also very strong. The stop pin is nice and big on it. Everything is overbuilt on it, and you can just feel that this is a great knife for hard use, especially for a folding hard use knife. The Rat One. I know this isn't your ideal knife to think of when you think of an apocalypse or anything like that, but these knives have been tested, beat on, worked with for years, and I've seen lots of videos where these things outdo knives that you would think are much stronger. They're extremely well built. They're great in the hand. They're good slicers, and would just make a great knife that you could rely on, at least for a decent bit of time. But if you're absolutely going to abuse a knife, you're probably going to want a fixed blade, but this knife could still serve you very well in an apocalypse. The Buck 110. Now, I know this is another knife that a lot of people might not think about when they think of an apocalypse, but let's just be honest, this knife has survived for years. You see grandfathers and lots of people carrying their grandfathers. Buck 110, they hold up for years to come. They have a great grind, nice hollow ground blade, easy to carry, easy to use. And this one has thumb studs. This is the S30V version, so it's the upgraded version with micarta handles. The regular version, I think, comes with 420 HC steel. But either way, these knives definitely hold up after a long time. And yeah, they last for years to come. Now, I wouldn't say this would be something you'd be breaking up or cutting wood or anything like that with, but you could definitely use it to eat with, to just use at a campsite, and definitely use for your cutting tasks, and it will last a very long time. Next up, the Cold Steel Recon 1. This knife, there's a lot of Cold Steels that could be on this list. I don't have that many of them here right now, but this knife would work great under apocalypse situations. One, it has the Cold Steel Triad lock, just like the Ultimate Hunter did. And yeah, just an extremely strong lock is what makes this knife so good. Also, the ergos, it really locks you in place. You could definitely abuse this knife for a long time without no fear. Great knife. The blade steel on this one is the same as the last one, CTS XHP. Yeah, great clip point buoy blade. This thing would do really well in an apocalypse. Next up, the Buck Mesa. Now, you can get these knives very cheap. They're originally like 40-50 bucks. You can find them at Walmart and stuff like that in the clearance sections for $20 and under. Beautiful micarta scale. Some of my favorite micarta. This is 420 HC steel, or I think it's 440C actually, 440C steel. It is a nice hollow ground blade, so you can get a lot of great sharpenings out of it before it really gets thick. It does have a little bit of a recurve, kind of a clip point, blade shape, clip point buoy. But yeah, fantastic in the hand. You can get a good grip, 5-inch blade. Just would work great in the field, and I would totally trust this knife in an apocalypse situation. Some people might worry about a knife like this, the Hogue Ritter, because of the Omega springs. I have yet to have heard of anybody breaking any Omega springs by Hogue, but maybe you have. If you have, let me know down in the comments. But if they did break, you could shove something into this and make it a fixed blade, because as long as this lock is up, it's not going to close on you unless if it breaks. So I think this knife would be okay as a apocalypse knife to some extent. Like I said, I do have the Omega springs in the back of my mind too. That's why I think I would trust the Manix a little bit more than a knife on Omega springs, but you still can't deny these are incredibly strong, incredibly well-built knives. A lot of people would love to have a Kukri. I don't know how easy it would be to carry around all day, every day, but it definitely would be a great knife to leave at your campsite or wherever you're staying for a just-in-case situation. These things have been used on the battlefield, and to not only in the battlefield, but also to get rid of brush and do lots of your chopping tasks. Next up, this is the Boker Zero. This thing is a discontinued knife, but regardless, it is a very strong, well-built knife. The stop pin is nice and big, nice strong lockup. The ergos are great. Nice hollow ground blade, a blade shape that can get a lot done. Get great push cuts, great slicing. It's not super thin behind the edge, but you can definitely get a lot of sharpenings out of it since it does have a nice hollow grind. This thing definitely is well built. for a poker knife. Next up, the Strider SNF. This thing is an absolute beast of a knife, and that little bit of lock stick is something you would love to hear in an apocalypse, because that just tells you how strong it is locked up, and it might be something you really want in an apocalypse situation. I'll tell you what, the lock stick is getting better and better on this knife, but yes, what a great knife. You definitely get good push cuts. The blade shape is just a great blade shape. The ergos are pretty good, especially when you're locked up here. But it's just been known to be a great hard use knife that is very reliable in the field. Fantastic knife for an apocalypse. The Bark River Gunny Sidekick in 3V. This thing has black micarta handles that fit the hand. Very nice little clip point blade that gets down to a 0 grind, and yeah, this thing would be fantastic in the field and just work out really good for so many different situations that you could possibly come up with or run into in the field. Nothing serves you better in the field than a fixed blade. But we're still going to mention as many badass folders as we can. Another great thing during an apocalypse, especially if you think you're going to be carrying a knife, is knowing how to freehand knife sharpen. If you know how to freehand knife sharpen, then you're not going to have to worry about your edge. You can actually use it. But the Work Sharp Field Sharpener is also a great thing to have that you would absolutely love to have during an apocalypse. It gives you a coarse diamond plate, a fine diamond plate, and also a ceramic rod that's good for medium and fine. So you have the coarse, which is textured, and then the fine, which gives you basically like a polished edge. It gives you a little ceramic spot right here for your serrations, and you have a leather strap with compound already on it. Since it already has your angles figured out for you, you don't have to do any guesswork for your angles. But knowing how to freehand sharpen any stone would work and serve you great during an apocalypse, regardless what stone it is. So knowing how to sharpen is the most important part. The Cold Steel Code 4 and the Cold Steel American Lawman. These two knives both have the Cold Steel Triad lock. This one's in CTS XHP. This one's in S35VN. Great knives that you could use for some hard use and some precision cutting. This one sports a nice thin hollow grind that will take many sharpenings without losing performance. It is thin in the hand, so it's not going to be the best for hard use in the hand, but it can definitely hold up in the strength part. So great knife for the field or for an apocalypse. This knife is just a little bit shorter, so a little bit more compact, but lets you get up nice and close to that blade. Great knife for some hard use and some cutting tasks. The Triad lock is just such an incredibly strong locking mechanism that it's very reliable in the field and for hard use. Last but not least, the LT Right GNS. This knife sports snakeskin, micarta, beautiful ergos. The sheath is awesome, great also for in the field. The blade on this thing has a Scandi grind that goes down to a 0 grind that's incredibly sharp. This one has 01 tool steel. You can get up really close to the blade for your push cuts, and then get right behind this ring for other cuts, you know, to really lock you in place. The palm swell here, just it feels so good in the hand. Nice thick blade stock that you could rely on. This is definitely a knife that would serve you well in the field for just about anything and would be a fantastic knife to have on you during an apocalypse for just about any situation, whether it's food prep, whether it's, you know, cutting up stuff for a fire, whether it's skinning a deer. Regardless, even for self-defense, this knife would work fantastic. I love all you guys. Peace.